to Cannabis Expo. We're truly grateful. It's, for me, the collaboration model that we have. Any and everything cannabis South Africa, and the gateway to the globe is here. These are your strategic partners, these are your mentors. They are not competitors, they're synergists. So I come to you on behalf of the Cannabis Development Council of South Africa. I'm the National Treasurer and I'm the Vice Treasurer of KZN, and I'm very lucky to have some really the heart of our KZN team here. And I'll introduce them in a second, because that's the gateway. You become a member so that you are attached to people, the network, common-minded, you can be enabled. These people are masters, they will direct you on how to traverse the maze of the government, how to actually get a permit. And then I'll try to help you on what you do when you get a permit. So, our SG is here, our admin is here. Jade, Andrea, want to say hi? That's Andrea, that's Jade. So CBCSA, and the thing that everybody has on their mind, aside from helping poor communities, wink wink, is getting a permit. Alright, so as I said, I'm Dr. Jamaluddin, Dr. J. I'm a HBCSA member, so I'm a doctor of medicine. I direct 14 companies, and I'll tell you why I mentioned that later. It's part of mass collaboration. But in and around import-export, these are the kind of things beyond cannabis, that's part of cannabis, that being part of CBCSA can help you. Logistics, automotive, property, paper assets and investments, particularly in international business. We're a commercial farmer, including hydroponics, grain, soya, maize, livestock, timber, charcoal, all made on my farm. And our idea is, we were promoting as an international liaison to enable global cannabis investments and joint ventures, obviously with the local economy. And therefore, by job creation and sustainable charity, which of course is tax deductible, is to actually use that in cannabis to make South Africa great again. I am a hemp farmer. I'm a permitted hemp farmer. I also am a pilot program for the Department of Agriculture, as well as a Center of Excellence. And in hemp, that's excellence is done day by day. It's on the farm. It's a learning process. The farm, we have eco-friendly practices on the farm. Everything. We're old no-till farmers. It's 20 years that we've been doing it. The farm as a whole is 5,000 hectares. The permit's 1,500 hectares. Of course, we use everything there out of interest, curiosity, but also when you visit, you will see things like artificial intelligence being used in farming, and an option and a possibility of the farm for education. Will also show you in hemp farming at the moment, you are actually pulling weeds manually, you are harvesting manually. So the issue of job creation and is not a fallacy, it's occurring. For us, it's 150 more employees. And of course, the education that goes with it. I mean, you're teaching people a new crop, you're upskilling them. And I'm trying to make it tangible. When you ask or you're mandated with certain tasks, it appears like they're they can't be achieved. Actually, they can. They can be achieved on a business-to-business level as well as a farm-to-farm level. But if you take just my farm alone, increasing its employment by 150 people, let's multiply that just by everyone cannabis South Africa, let alone in this room. So it's doable and it's tangible. And then that becomes part of poverty eradication, of course. And these methods of farming that we're talking about, because we're cannabis-friendly people and we're eco-friendly, is the zero waste. Nothing's wasted. And if you waste not, you want not. That's my philosophy. So we have uses from the root, the stems, things like making blocks, notwithstanding our expert on fiber, getting into plastics, roof sheeting. I'll just talk about what we do on the farm. Flowers, of course, that's the big hype. Everybody wants to make oil. There's a place for it. We'll talk about medicine in a minute. And of course, seeds, high protein powder, post-hemp seed oil production in a very simple and plain hemp seed press, not even complicated. And then of course the use of seeds to enable and gift others, get the industry moving, as well as hemp seeds themselves are a business. We do things like cloning, of course, we do tissue cultures, and you have access to this via myself as a hemp farmer, but obviously ever more so by being part of a group and a network of common-minded people that are doing this, that are in the business on a daily basis. And I will say again that your entry into that is the CDCSA. I mean, this is, people do this daily, they're living it, it's what they do. So on the farm we also do agro-processing, and we'll talk about industrial hemp. We have extraction techniques, solventless, using things like screw presses, rosin press, all the way down to ultrasound, nano-stabilizing. It's all there. We're doing the research for the farm, of course, for CDCSA, for Cannabis South Africa. I have a special interest, of course, in seed technology and things like cloning and tissue cultures. I see a big avenue for that in terms of the world, bringing good genetics, making it affordable, and rather than us constantly buying genetics from them, actually being able to share and sell them genetics at a reduced price because we're in rands. Similar principle, Cannabis 420 travel. I mean, you come down to South Africa, this is where Durban poison is from. Every single province from Cape Town to KwaZulu-Natal has its own unique charm, and it's all in rands, so let's make it tangible. Close to Newcastle, Ladysmith, Big Five, while you're smoking a joint and it's in rands. So yeah, go to Amsterdam. I don't say don't, but don't not consider South Africa as a cannabis destination. I mean, it's cool and it's cheap. It's exciting. And we're at the forefront of it now. So what I'm trying to get to is that in cannabis, there's a place for everyone and everyone a place. Just the right bottom for the right seed. And in so doing and collaborating together, there's no form. Because coming from America recently, and having met with the Commissioner of Agriculture and Congressman Matt Gaines, etc., amongst others, I'm also a medical cannabis physician in the United States, so is my wife, that they are open for business with South Africa and mass collaboration and enabling in government and corporate for things like export incentives to make it plausible and feasible. We were just with the department, the ambassador of Venezuela in a matter of a Venezuela-South Africa trade summit. And obviously, I always see cannabis in there. But the point being that if we twin city with them, they also driving tourism to South Africa, reverse gear at no expense to ourselves, with a nice little twist in there that's target marketed, 420, the cannabis guys. So we want to think about it, and I know I'm supposed to be talking about hemp, but it all fits in. It's a dynamic ecosystem, because who's to say that I can't have visitors on my hemp farm, just as I'm doing my day-to-day activities of hemp farming. They want to be involved, they want to see, they want to extract, they want to harvest. And we were at Canatech, we were talking with the gentleman from Israel. There's a possibility of things like kibbutz, because this is not happening anywhere else. So we have to think out of the box, and we have to be inclusionary, and we have to do it in a way where we're doing it together and we're collaborating with each other and not feeling formal. So the other things that we're able to do is to avail to what are the resources of the government in terms of higher education, learning centers. Many of us are official researchers on the permits. These are things where you have a group now that is directing you. Inspectors, the stakeholders of inspectors in terms of the Department of Health, because we represent them. We are their researchers, we are their investigators, and then we can put you in touch. Who's the other farmers, who's doing what? We also work in collaboration with Afasa, Kwanalu, TIKZN. We've invited them, we've availed them for things like funding. They're here at your disposal, and obviously cannabis education, AMFA, African Muslim Farmers Association in cannabis. I'm sure you remember. So CBCSA would Expo as a tool, mass collaboration, but at the end of the day, it's you. You are steering this. You are making history. You are at the forefront of it. So steer it religiously, morally, ethically correct, because you're sitting at a point in history where you might not realize it, but we are actually making history. So back to hemp. Why did I like hemp? I'm not going to talk about the medicine side, the many uses of hemp. And as you have R&D, you're starting to see more and more uses because it's being legally accessible, and each industry is now saying, wow, I have a use for hemp in my industry. I'll use the same example I always use. A guy calls me up, he wants to use hemp dust. I'm like flabbergasted, what do you do with hemp dust? So anyway, he's compacting it and making blinds and flooring. So there is a place for everyone and everyone a place. The issue is fitting in with each other. So how should that work? That should work that I have a net empty return load on my truck on a particular leg of my journey. That truck now doesn't need to come empty, it needs to go with that hemp dust at a reduced rate because he gets his hemp and I get diesel. That's mass collaboration. Not to mention the magnitude of employment that we're due to create. Biorefinery coming to Newcastle using hemp as a waste product. The cellulose into ethanol, export, inflow of American dollars. Waste product, glycol cycle is organic fertilizer. Organic fertilizer is expensive and good. If you're now getting it as a waste product, even better. So fitting the industries in. I know and our government actually is with us. It's a perfect time because we're merging government with corporate, and that moves fast, and therefore have access to other governments via our government, and you can move things quickly. So the issue of job creation and charity, but also making South Africa great again. We have promised the government, and we're not lying, the amount of VAT and tax that's going to come from this will fill coffers in a way that has never been done before by any industry. America is proof of it, Canada is proof of it. I mean, you're seeing articles like this all the time. For those who can't see, cannabis taxes could swell the state coffers. This is not a fallacy, this is true. And amongst other things is the reason why the government has been so enabling. And the communication that's occurring to make this happen with the government obviously is steered by KZN. So you want to go and CDCF as a whole. So you want to attach yourself to CBCSA, because why not do that with someone who's actually been able to provide and adequately show you permits, 25 or 35 so far, and 200 in application. And to make it tangible again, hey, I'm the beneficiary of one of these permits. I have one, you're welcome to come look at it when you want, so you know that it's not a unicorn, it's actually reality. So back to farming really quickly. Typical. Let's not get into the complication of outdoor versus indoor. Indoor hydroponics again, just a different crop. I'll talk about outdoor. The easiest analogy on knowing how to plant hemp outdoor is it's very much like maize. It's even the same season. The only difference is in maize you get to use things like pesticides. You can send the sprayer out, you can spray. Hemp's not like that, hemp's organic. So you have to do calculations on how your weed control is going to occur. And then also it will change when it's affordable for us, where we can actually get 2 heads on our John Deere harvester. Then we're able to harvest maize. Hemp. In the meantime, we're harvesting hemp by hand. Then we get into the drying process, very third-world, very organic separation of seeds. But possibly the person that bore the brunt of that is actually Dr. Hurley, my wife. I'm talking like I did it, but she was getting tons at a time of hemp and having to hang it and dry it, separate the seeds and separate the flowers and work out whether it's going to get bad and when do we extract it and should we use solvent bliss extraction. And it is a learning process, but fortunately in time we have many other countries becoming legal at the same time. So that's the idea of mass collaboration and hemp being global, because we network with each other and we share it all. But hemp South Africa is unique to us, and we need to put that forward. How can I make it tangible? So hemp medicine in other countries is kind of restricted to Western medicine. But here we have our IKS, our traditional healers and leaders. Think about a unique medicine where you're mixing Western with traditional healers and leaders. It becomes unique to South Africa only. And again, nice destination and cheap. Many people will come. And mentioning the IKS will have to be mentioned because they kept this going, Rasta amongst others, and fought the fort and never let it go and suffered. And we've got to see that our Kosi, our Rasta, our traditional healers and leaders, Khoisan particularly, and for me I take it a step further, I say our hacks even, the historically advantaged cannabis criminals, guys that were having tunnels. It was illegal because it was illegal then. They're not criminals now, they actually have education and they're masters at the plant, and we want to include them, especially where they're in a hemp farm like myself. I kind of welcome that sort of knowledge, because they're actually better at it than us, because they've been doing it, granted allegedly illegally, but unequivocally for a long time. And when we talk about collaboration, our government has been enabling, particularly in the Department of Health. Precious Masotso is the one that enabled us to move forward. She is retired now, she's a World Health Organization, she's an academic, she's a nerd like me, and I want to take this moment to thank her. Now we're talking about permits moving forward into the Department of Agriculture. Many people, including the new MEC like Bongi Malloy, went out of their way. Kuben Woodley particularly has steered this for us and made it tangible. On the supra level, we have Daphne, particularly someone to be thanked. Then the heroes of the cannabis hemp fight, House of Hemp, Dr. Tandega, been at it for 20 years. We owe these people a debt of gratitude. People like Prince, Ras Prince, September 18 Concord ruling, because of guys like him. And I said the IKS in general, the Rasta, CDC particularly, I want to thank them, because we are where we are because of the efforts of a fledgling industry like CDC. And in government, there's particular people that stand out. You've got like Mama Peggy Neliswe Nkonieni, former MEC, when hemp and cannabis was considered taboo and a risk to even talk about it, she said she supported us. And then we went into other people that saw the value of HASA, Black Women's Farmers Association, as an example, KZN Premier's office, particularly your CTI KZN here, then the guys who went out of their way and were willing to risk things like, for example, talking about it, producing news, magazines, Extraction, 7 Leaf, Sammy is here, we push each other and make it happen. And the reason I mention these names is because you're going to need these people to work with and interact as you want to traverse the cannabis business. And you must use them, they're already here. Particularly, things like Cannabis Expo. I remember at the beginning when we were just scared shitless. What's going to happen? Are they going to come? Or are we allowed to smoke here? Geez, we've come a long way. We're smoking in Santon, the back, yesterday. We're getting somewhere, man. It's pretty cool. And people like Silas, and Clarissa, and Kate, and Jesse, and Chelsea, they're the epitome of everything cannabis. I mean, I've never seen them not smile throughout the weekend, and let me tell you something, they're taking pressure non-stop. CDCSA is taking pressure to enable it, but yeah, I have a speech every couple of hours. They're non-stop. So we'll be grateful to them, and at the same time, we want to say to those who are here that maybe didn't get to do everything you wanted to do, that the list of strategic partners are here, that you engage with them when you go home, and that you see the opportunity for next time, to see everyone you met, your cannabis family, your friends. I see Dr. J again. That's Cape Town, March 2020. Expo is doing it again. You want to be there. This is everything cannabis in South Africa. And so, if you notice, I've been trying to push a thought in your head that it's all collaboration. So the details of being a hemp farmer, it's more the idea of being a cannabis person enabled things like CDCSA, strategic partners like Expo. The act of planting hemp, easy, just come to the farm, I'll show you. It's not going to be hard. We spend a day together, you know how to plant maize, you know how to plant cannabis, outdoors. In tunnels, we have people. Our lighters have been growing that stuff in their closets for a long time. They're just now going to make it 400 in a tunnel. No biggie, I'll show you their masters. You know, we were having a joke the other day and one said, oh doc, you know, you must take a couple of puffs. They're at another level. 2 puffs later, I'm like, hey. So, you know, they're there. Why I'm trying to unify this, and I want to take this opportunity, it's very near and dear to me, is we're going to don't look at what, it's a speech of Haile Selassie, but it's not the race speech. It's the unification speech, that through the differences we unleash hybrid vigor. You see, like if you take South Africa, what's the gospel cat of cows around as an example for me? Botswana. They're mixed. That's a rainbow nation. That's what you want. You know what I mean? So I'm going to take that because it's very near and dear to me. It was made well known globally. There's lyrics in a Bob Marley song, but I want you to think about it carefully because this is prophecy fulfilled. Plant has been granted to us in a particular time in Africa. It's our time. It's almost handed to us on a plate by God Almighty Himself. It needs to be handled carefully. Templates are there. We are there to enable each other, but it's how we interact with each other, because the small details of it are just principles of business. It's just a new product. As a farmer, for example, it's just another commodity. Want me to plant soya or maize or cannabis? It's another crop for me. It's how we handle it. And the thing about how you handle it is what your mental frame is going to be, both locally, continentally, and globally. The unification of common-minded people using cannabis as a catalyst. Once we set that up, we can basically put any other product in it. When we make the government see what we can deliver, we want to sit on that desk with them and talk about how they use our money that we brought. And what's next, because we know how to bring money. For example, that's how you change the world. You get involved in it and you're not excluded, but you show value and you do it transparently. Loyalty, trust, diversity follows. So here goes. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. And until there is no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, and until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, there is war. And until that day, the dream of lasting peace and world citizenship, rule of international morality, will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war. On to the next. We already have cryptocurrencies, fellas, don't panic. How to go public, it's in place. Globalization, this is my thing about cannabis liberating you. All human beings are born free under the same sky. We have the right to traverse the earth. There are rules. Pay your tax, don't break the laws. There are guys that are working on it for us now, for example, World Check, which says, I can go anywhere, I'm allowed. Yes, there's rules, yes, there's taxes to be paid. Cannabis is the thing that not only enables that, but tells a government and tells the people in another country, why are you not even inviting him? Why are you scared? Bring him in. He's got new ideas, he's got a new market, he comes from another country. One world, one nation. Cannabis, that's where we're going. This is the starting place. This is where you reach your cannabis world. And in closing, I want to thank everyone again, including Expo, for enabling us to meet each other. And in so doing, I'm going to humbly take the opportunity to read out one of my favorite speeches by Nelson Mandela. And it goes, I have fought against white domination and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to see realized, but if needs be, it's an ideal for which I'm prepared to die. Thank you guys.